Hi, I'm Jonathan Jay, and welcome to dealmakers.co.uk, the #1 place for business buying information. If you haven't taken our free video training course on how to buy a business without using your own cash, there is a link somewhere around this video. I want to introduce you to Nick, who owns a large format printing company. He's going to tell you about his first acquisition, how it worked for him, and how it has exploded his business sales.
Okay, so good morning, everyone, and welcome. Good to have you all here. Welcome to this morning's virtual conference. Slightly different time zone to what we normally do. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. This is your kickstart to the day, and I've got an amazing guest, one of my very valued mastermind clients on the call today. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to click this button here so that Nick, you can turn on your camera and unmute yourself, and that should all work.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning. Hi, Nick. Where are you right now?
I'm in a home office.
Oh, right. Okay. I thought I didn't recognize the background. Yeah, absolutely. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah.
Good. I know you're busy. I know you're a very busy man. Although I did actually see you in Marbella.
Last week. Yeah.
You were busy in Marbella, weren't you, as well?
Yeah, busy in Marbella, busy here, always busy. But it was good to see you in Marbella anyway.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, you were there. Were you there for 4 days, 5 days?
5 days.
5 days. This is a conference that Nick attended, and I was only there for less than 40 hours to speak at the event. So yeah, it was fun, wasn't it?
It was great. Yeah, it was really good.
Great. Okay, so let's get started with a little bit of background. So Nick, tell us a bit about yourself, where you're based, how you got into business in the first place. Just give us a little bit of a sense of who you are, and then we'll talk about acquisitions. Actually, let me tell you, everyone, the format for today. Just if you haven't been on one of these, I'll tell everyone the format. So Nick and I are going to have a chat for about half an hour, 40 minutes. Really want to understand his acquisition journey, what he's done so far, what he's doing right now, what his plans are for the future. And then I'm going to be telling you about what to do next. So if this is something that interests you, if you're on this virtual conference because you're interested in buying a business, and I guess that probably be the only reason why you're on it, then I'll tell you what to do next. I have a Zoom fast track program. All of my masterminders start on the Zoom fast track program, and I've actually got one starting tomorrow morning. So if you're inspired this morning, then at 9 o'clock tomorrow we can get you started. And then after I've told everyone about that, it takes about 5 minutes to tell everyone about the fast track program. At that point, I'll open it up to questions, and you can ask Nick as many questions as you want, and Nick and I will answer every single question, well, all the polite ones at least, and we'll stay on the webinar until all those questions are answered. Okay, or one of us loses our voice. Okay, that's the deal. So Nick, give us that little bit of background, would you?
Yeah. So I started out in the printing industry when I left school when I was 16, and just went up through the ranks and ended up working at a advertising agency as a print buyer. And at the time, I was handling all the Nintendo and Virgin Media work, and I couldn't find a supplier that would do everything that I needed under one roof. I'd had to use a lot of time going here, there, and everywhere to try and get one job done. And at the same time, my dad, he worked as a sales director at a print company, and he had almost the same problem. So people would come back with these lovely projects from someone like me at an agency, and they'd go, well, we don't do that part of it. So you'd have to, go around and waste loads of time. So together, 7 years ago, we formed a company called Wahooty London, and it was a print management company at the time. And the idea was we come up with the slogan, the answer is yes, what's the question? And whatever anyone needed, we'd just take the whole project on with our expertise, and we'd farm it out to suppliers. Along that journey, we were putting out loads of promotional merchandise, so workwear, branded bottles, all this kind of stuff. And I was giving it to another supplier, and I thought, I'd rather do it myself. So I set up another business called We Love Merchandise, from scratch. And as we all know, that's incredibly difficult.
Well, that's a theme, isn't it? Of when people have started a business and people have bought a business, the people with the most grey hairs are the people who start the business and spend 3 years not making any money, or you can buy the business that's positively cash flowing and you've got income from the business as soon as you own it.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, we had quite a lot of work to put into it, but then you have the cash flow issues and how you're going to fund the initial terms and stuff like that. So, but it went all right. And then I saw in my industry that there was a few companies that were acquiring a lot. I mean, nearly all of my competitors, not all of them, but a lot of my competitors were starting to be acquired. And I thought that's really interesting, which is when I found you.
Okay. So let's just go back. One question that's in people's minds, and I do know the answer, but I want everyone else to hear it, is Wahooty. Where did the name come from? That's not a common name, is it?
It's not, no. So it doesn't mean anything. It was an Australian band in the 90s who released a song called Wahooty Fandango. And we originally were Wahooty Fandango, but the name was quite long and it was getting spammed in a lot of people's mailboxes and stuff. So
it's quite a big URL for a web address, isn't it?
It is, yeah. A
lot can go wrong when typing that URL.
It's not exactly the sort of word that you can spell easily either. So we dropped the Fandango and changed it to Wahooty London, because at the time we were based in central London. Okay. Yeah, that's where it came from. It doesn't mean anything really. I mean,
so this is a sector you've been in for a long time, and your dad as well. And so it's a family business, really, isn't it? And then you saw other businesses in your sector being bought and buying, and I guess you were aware of that just because it's your sector and you hear all the gossip on the grapevine and you read the magazine, the trade press or websites.
Yeah, and also because it was being bought up by a big corporate at the time. Nearly everyone was being bought up by this same big corporate, and
really?
The word on the street was really that no one really wanted to sell to this big corporate, but these people, then they wanted to retire. They were the ones that swooped in, and
so there weren't that many options then.
No, not at the time.
Interesting. I guess you're now one of those options. So
yeah.
Fantastic. So you came across me. Can you remember how we first met? I remember where we first met, sort of physically face to face. But how did you? Was it YouTube or the podcast? Maybe
I think it was LinkedIn.
Okay.
LinkedIn, yeah. So I saw your things on LinkedIn and started listening to your podcast. I know it's your podcast actually. It was your podcast first.
Okay.
Which then I followed you on LinkedIn, and then we got in contact. We had an initial phone call to see if about the course, and that was it. In I went.
The rest is history.
The rest is history,
as they say. So okay, so you found me. I'm not entirely sure if I was doing the fast track course back then. I don't, because that was pre-COVID, wasn't it? Yeah, I had to modernize with the pandemic. I had to go online. Before that, I was old school. I was having meetings with people in hotels, and now I can do it. I can do it through Zoom, which is fantastic. In fact, actually, I've got a meeting with a potential mastermind person straight after this. He's in the UK and I'm abroad, which is just incredible, really. I know it's not remarkable to most people, but for me, who doesn't really get too close to technology, it's like an earth-shattering moment. So we didn't have the fast track back then, so you came straight onto Mastermind, and I remember quite a few of the people in that particular group. What did you discover as soon as you were sitting in a room full of people who had the same goals and ambitions as you?
Sorry for interrupting your video, but I wanted to introduce you to a great lawyer in the UK who can get your deals done for you. He's worked for 50 of my mastermind clients in the last few months alone. His name is John Andrews, and I've got his details right here in my little black book of contacts. You can phone him on 0345 241 2494, or you can email him on johnandrews.deallawyer@jmw.co.uk. If you want someone who can get a deal done, he is your guy. So let's get back to the video.
It's really important, actually, and I still do it now to this day, to be surrounded by people who have the same goals and ambitions, because it's very easy to be surrounded by people that tell you can't do something or that won't work because they've never been around it or they don't know. And just being in that sort of environment, in a group of people all trying to do the same thing, it really pushes you and thrusts you to go, just get on and do it.
Well, if you were just by yourself, I guess it would.
I don't think you would unless you were part of a group.
I've never actually seen anyone, because sometimes people do tell me, they say, "Thanks very much, Jonathan, but I'm going to do it all by myself," and everything. But I think they'll be back at some point. Give it 3 or 6 months, they'll be back. So you joined the group and started getting really focused on acquisitions with the moral support of the group. And tell us about that first deal, because I think the first deal is always the most interesting one. First of all, what was the business and how did you find it?
So the business was actually a balloon printing company, and it's not something I would have actually gone looking for, to be honest with you. I've never, I mean, I've been in the print industry a long time and I've never even thought about printing balloons. But it was in the highest of the lockdown, and I just sent some letters out. So I think I sent maybe 500 letters. I can't remember, it was a while ago now. About 500 letters out, following your guidance and your templates, and was inundated, I'd say, with phone calls from people in my industry that just wanted to retire or had had enough. And I think partly the flood of letters was because of the timing. We were in the middle of a lockdown, and I'm probably the only person that was going out trying to spend money, not save it. So
you had an influx of people who wanted to sell, and the best person to buy from is always someone who wants to sell. In other words, a motivated seller. So you had some conversations on the phone, but I guess back then we weren't allowed to travel. I don't think we were allowed to travel and meet. We certainly weren't having meetings, were we?
No, I don't think we were, at the time. I don't think we were allowed out of the house, to be honest with you. So it was an interesting time. Print companies, actually, some print companies were allowed to operate because of the COVID signage and the direct mail. So I managed to get some letters out because people were still open and printing. So that was good.
So you had to do the whole deal via Zoom then, or by video call, phone call.
Most of it was on the phone. Yeah, most of it was on the phone. I think we had a couple of Zooms, but most of it was on the phone, and it was very quick. I think.
Right. Well, let's talk about the time scale then. So you had the phone call from the motivated seller on day one. How did things progress? What was the time frame?
Yeah, so they had previously had their business on the market for a lot more prior to like a year before or 18 months before, but they decided that they'd had enough. I think the balloon industry, it was tough during the lockdown, but I think from start to finish it was about 2 weeks. About 2 weeks it took from that first phone call to actually owning it.
So this is a good point, because there are people who say they haven't got time to buy a business because they think that it's going to be 18 months. Because I do meet people actually who've been in the process of buying a business for 18 months. And who has 18 months to spend on an acquisition? But you did it all in 2 weeks. So tell us how and why you could do it so quickly, Nick.
So it was an asset purchase, which is a lot quicker than a share purchase. They had sold their factory that they owned, that the business was in, and they had the new people moving in a few weeks' time. So they really needed someone to come along and to buy it, or inevitably they would have ended up having to close it, which they didn't want to do because they've been trading for 38 years. So it wasn't really an option for them to just close it and sell all the machinery and everything else.
So just so I'm clear, they owned the factory building in which the business was located. They'd sold or they'd leased the building?
They'd leased it back out.
All right. So they'd leased it to a new tenant. The new tenant was moving.
Yeah. They'd either leased it or they wasn't going to be theirs in 2 weeks. Someone else.
The principle was they had to get the business with all this heavy equipment out in 2 weeks, and they didn't really want to just close it down. They wanted to sell it because they put so much effort into the business, didn't want to see it disappear without a trace. And then you came along and you knew how to do a deal. And I think that, that's the bit that, when we talk about how do we get a deal done quickly, there are all these factors: motivated seller, asset purchase. But at the end of the day, you knew what to do. That's the biggest difference.
I did know what to do, and also I knew who I needed to help me, which is key. I think it's very common for people to get wrapped up to think that, when you're going to buy a business, you're going to do everything yourself and it's going to sap all your time out and all this. And the fact is, it's not true, because you have the initial phone calls and you do the bit that you teach you, but then you leverage lawyers, or you leverage, counsel, whoever it is you need to then go in and do the contracts and stuff like that. So you don't need to necessarily know the ins and outs of a contract, because using your contacts and stuff like that, you can do it very quickly with people that know what they're doing. So you become part of a team, a deal team, that you're just part of.
And this is, I think, where sometimes beginners, people who are new to this, think they have to do everything themselves. I think they have to know everything. Sometimes people think they have to know everything about accountancy. I mean, how many years does it take someone to train as an accountant? I mean, is it 7? I'm not sure if that is if it is 7, but it's a long time. More than a couple of years. It's a long time, isn't it? And then people say, I need to know everything about accountancy to understand the numbers. No, that's what the accountant's for. You're there to find the deal, make the deal, do the deal. Your accountant's there to do the numbers. Your lawyer, no one ever says to me, I need to learn how to be a lawyer to do a deal. So you just get the lawyer to do the legal bit, the accountant to do the accountancy bit, and you focus on what you're good at, which is what I teach, which is finding the deal, putting the deal together, constructing it, and then getting it over the line.
That's right, yeah. And your deal team will help you construct it as well. You're not completely on your own. There's lots of people around, especially people that are in your group as well, that you can ask.
I see that more and more, actually, people sort of teaming up with each other and doing things together, or just being a sort of a buddy network of support. So the deal was done in 2 weeks. We know it was an asset purchase. I think I know that you used my lawyer. Is that right?
John, yeah.
Yep. You used John to get the deal done, which is great. And we got a motivated seller. It was a flurry of activity, I would imagine, in those final couple of days. I don't think we need to know how much you paid for the business, because that's covered by a confidentiality agreement. The confidentiality clause, rather, in the APA. But just give us the principle of the acquisition, how it worked from a financial perspective, so we can understand that.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I would say as well is just one of the reasons why I managed to do this quite quickly is because I had everything ready to go. So when you teach about SPVs and stuff like that, I had an SPV sitting there ready to take action.
Got it.
So the corporate structure thing is really important, and I would learn from you on the course.
Those of you joining me on the fast track tomorrow, we do all of that on the course this week.
Yeah. So you learn all that from you. I had a business for a long time, and I didn't even know that was a thing until I'd met you and learn all that stuff. So, I had that ready to go, so I could take action straight away. I'd already told the lawyers and stuff that I was going to send letters out, and I'm actually looking to to do something quite quickly. So sorry, what was your? I went off on a bit of a tangent.
What was the question? The question was, without giving us the precise numbers, just give us the sort of financial structure of the deal, would you?
Yeah. So there was the initial that. So I had completely deferred for 12 months. So I didn't pay anything for 12 months.
Well, so you got the business, got the keys, got your hands on the business, but didn't pay anything immediately.
I did pay a very, very small down payment, which came out of my existing business. But the key to that is that I didn't have to. The assets were worth significantly more than the initial down payment. So if I'd had more time, I could have sent someone in there to finance the assets and pulled the money out.
But in 2 weeks, that was never going to be.
You're never going to do it in 2 weeks.
Yeah, sure.
But it wasn't a large amount of money, and I had it in my existing business to do it. But like I say, the assets are worth a lot more than that. So then I had no payment for 12 months. It was something that I negotiated because we were obviously in a lockdown. So who knows what was going to.
So actually, you used the lockdown as your sort of the future is unknown sort of approach. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, works now with the recession and the economic crisis that are in. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that I had the historical accounts going right back, but we were in the middle of a lockdown, so all bets are off at that point, I suppose, for me.
Yeah.
And then the no payments for 12 months, and then when 12 months hit, I had deferred payments for 3 years.
Okay. Fine. Just paid out the profits of the business.
Paid out of the cash flow of the existing of the business. Yeah. So effectively, had I got asset finance in the original, or if I wanted to asset finance now and get my money back out, then I could, and I would have a business for not my money. So,
which is always a nice bonus. Yeah, absolutely. So tell us how buying that business has made a difference to your group, because I think at that point in time you were operating out of an office, and there were half a dozen of you. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we were a print management company, and so we used to outsource everything. So when I decided to do this, I very quickly had to find somewhere to put it all and set it all up, which we did.
This is all the equipment to print.
Equipment, yeah. So all their equipment and stuff like that. And I did find somewhere. I managed to get it under license while we sorted out the lease because of the timings, obviously. So that was fine. And then I sort of saw it as an opportunity actually to go into manufacturing for my Wooty London business, because at the time with print management, lots of companies were closed, and they're my supplier base. We sort of lost control of margins and stuff because people were, I had no control over that. I was just marking someone else's cost up. So manufacturing was always something that we'd sort of wanted to get into, but never really.
So this kind of forced your hand to take that big step.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we found somewhere with enough space to put our own machinery in, and then invested in our own machinery. So we've now got the factory full of state-of-the-art machinery.
I've been there.
You can see it on your YouTube.
I know, and exactly. Yeah, we filmed a video at Nick's premises, going around looking at all the machinery, and then an interview afterwards. And it's all on the Jonathan J YouTube channel if you want to check that out. So it forced you to sort of up your game, because now you've got this huge factory full of state-of-the-art equipment, where pre-balloon company acquisition, it was serviced office, half a dozen of you, no equipment, no assets in the business at all. So what has it done? What's the business? How has the business changed financially? But what I don't understand yet, and I'm asking the question that's probably going to be in people's minds. How can a balloon printing company, apart from the fact you need somewhere to put all the equipment, have a positive impact on the rest of your business?
Yes, it wasn't something that I've ever looked at. Although the machines are absolutely fascinating to watch, but it's not something I'd look to get into. But I always try and look at everything and see, what's the opportunity here? And rather than just looking at it as what it does, what is the opportunity and where can it fold into my existing group? And it was very apparent that so the balloon printing company is for corporate balloons. So if you imagine trade shows, events, exhibitions, and people are printing latex balloons with their corporate logo on the side. And I thought to myself, well, if they're printing a balloon with a logo on the side, then they must be buying merchandise from We Love Merchandise, and they must be buying large format or signage or trade shows, exhibitions, graphics, all of that sort of stuff. So I had a look at the client database, and there were some big names. You're talking Next, AO.com. Like there's some really substantial clients on that database. So the cross sell opportunity for us is massive, because if you go from an average order value of, let's say, about £80, and you manage to cross sell it into an average order value of £2,000 in one business to the next, the hardest thing in a business is generating the continuous flow of leads. And
yes,
we're getting now 15, 20 leads a day, plus we've got their old database. So their database, say 40,000 companies in it. If I get 2% spending £2,000 a year, is £8 million.
So actually gave your sales team something, a lot to do.
Golden chest of treasure.
Yeah. Yes. So suddenly everyone became very, very busy.
Yeah, exactly that. So yeah, we had to. It took a little bit of time to get the process right for the cross sell, but we've got it right now. And I told you about that job yesterday that potentially coming off, which is a unbelievable job. Plus of £100,000 for a job, which is off the back of 500 balloons.
Right. So actually, what you've done, you've bought a business that creates sales leads for your existing business.
Yeah. So we're taking someone who's coming in and spending money on a balloon, and we're trying to churn it into 3 transactions minimum.
I don't know whether, we haven't discussed this, but you think, well, okay, if that process works, what other companies similar to balloon companies, or maybe other balloon companies, if you stick with what you know, stick with balloons and look for some other online balloon companies.
Yeah, well, there. So that is kind of my plan going forward now. There's not many, maybe 4 or 5. A couple of them have already mentioned that they want to retire. So we're in very early stage conversations with some of those as well. And the plan is to just, which was never the plan when I was at school, let's face it, but to be the only person in the UK that prints balloons.
So to own the market.
Yeah,
you don't ask many 16-year-olds what they want to do in life, and they tell you they
buy a balloon printing company.
They want to be the balloon king, which is what we'll have to call you, the balloon king, the balloon emperor. There you go. Are you coming to our annual dinner, our Christmas dinner awards? Fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
There's about 6 tickets left on that one. So fantastic. So what's the plan then? So you've got this methodology for building the business. The business has transformed from 6 guys and girls in a serviced office to a factory full of equipment and machinery. And you can see all of this on the on my YouTube channel. You can see an interview with Nick on the YouTube channel. So you've got this factory full of equipment, and how many staff do you have now?
Pushing towards 30. Yeah, a couple more started this week.
30 staff. Yeah. Fantastic. It's completely different.
The key to that though is that I would have 30 staff if I had just one business, and I've still got 30 staff, and I've got 3 because we cross train and integrate them into the same infrastructure. So it's a really good, you can have them in one group all utilising the same services and the same systems and stuff, and it makes your company more profitable.
Well, I was going to say that's got to be a good thing for profit, hasn't it? Yeah, and when you're working on sort of all sort of variable margins, the more profit you can generate, the better. Which of course affects your exit value.
Yeah, no, well, that's exactly it.
Not that you'd be thinking about that, but if you were thinking about that, then obviously that's where the big bucks.
I would say that you should always be thinking about that.
Exact. Good answer. Everyone should always be thinking about the exit. Yeah. Fantastic. So what is the plan then? What does the future look like?
So yeah, it's a good question. There's a couple of markets I want to go into for Wahooty. So one of them is the dye-sub fabric market for events. So yeah, there's definitely, I would say, now that I'm out of any sort of operational role in the business, and I'm completely.
Oh, that's an important point. So because people often think when you buy a business, you end up doing a lot more work, but now your business is bigger, you've got a management team in place so that you don't have to do the things that you used to do.
Yeah, no, I have. So we were in Marbella last week, and I had maybe 4 or 5 emails that I needed to action and a couple of phone calls. So, and do you know what? It actually probably works better without me in the way, getting involved and having my say. So
I know the feeling. People have said that about me as well. So I get that. And so more acquisitions on the horizon.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to go for something slightly bigger next time. Bigger is actually probably a little bit easier.
It is,
I would say, especially if you're raising finance and stuff. Then a bigger business is easier to do it against, which would scare a lot of people. But the bigger business tends to come with a bigger team and a bit more structure than a smaller business. So it's a bit safer. So I'm going to go. There's a couple of people I've got my eyes on. A few I've spoke to before that I'm going to re-speak to now. Now that we're a bit further down the line, and
yes,
the media are putting the recession word everywhere. There's a lot of opportunity there.
This is the thing. People do message me and they say, is now a good time to buy a business because of the recession? It's so much uncertainty. No, that's why it's a good time to buy a business. Yeah, it's the exact. It was people said this 3 years ago with COVID. They said, "Is it now a good time to buy a business because of COVID? So much uncertainty," and it's the opposite of sort of what people commonly believe to be true.
Yeah, most people, they knuckle down, they cut back on marketing, they cut back on sales, and they bury the hatchets. When actually, did you know that more millionaires are created in a recession than any other economic climate? So it's definitely the time. It's definitely the time just to get the letters out and start to learn, because I think it's going to get deeper over the next year.
Yes.
So it's good timing to be jumping on one of your courses for sure. And
I'm not paying you to say that, by the way.
No. It's definitely,
I hope that's from the heart.
It definitely is. It's a good time, and now there's going to be opportunity everywhere over the next 12 months. And, start having those conversations now and planting some seeds.